I feel the need for speed.
Hi, I'm Chucky,
Because it's their time. Their time. Up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
Ooh, it's getting cold in here. Okay. All right. Welcome back to Winter Wolf's Den, folks. I'm Winter Wolf. I'm going to bring in King Z any second now. You might have noticed just based on the title card, the thumbnail, I mean, that I might have made a slight chronological miscalculation. The King Z was good enough to point out what today at like 3:30, something like that. You know, it's pretty deep in the production cycle, dude. What had happened was, as I must have just been flipping through stuff on YouTube, and I got caught off my subscription list into like whatever the current tab is, you know what I'm saying? And I saw somebody else had mentioned that it was the Matrix's 25th. They came out 25 years ago. I said, oh crap, that's kind of a big deal. Like I love the Matrix first one anyway. I love the idea of the franchise. I'm sure you feel kind of the same. So we didn't want to let an opportunity to just talk about the Matrix go by. So if everybody could just please disregard the happy 25th segment on the thumbnail, and then when King Z brings up our first graphic for the first topic, maybe just ignore the banner and other birthday accoutrement, as they say.
Well, you'll have to look at it. We didn't have our show back in March, so this is the first time we've done a show where to celebrate. It's a late celebration.
Listen, what King Z said, we weren't, FrostCast wasn't running then. We hadn't put it back together yet. So yeah, that explains why I completely out of pocket did not catch that it had come. What'd you say? Like the end of March, 25 years ago? I'm like, I don't know, man. Happy birthday, Neo. I mean, I don't know, man. I was in college when it came out, so you could have March, April, May, October. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was March 1999, right before the turn of the century. I saw that in theater.
I know I caught it in theater in college, and then actually The Matrix was one of the first actual DVDs I had ever owned. Like I was the first person in my dorm unit to have a DVD player, and the Matrix, and like I think I had The Matrix, Aliens, and like Top Gun or something. I don't remember. Were like the three that I bought, but that was back when you could only buy like 10 DVDs. You know what I mean? It wasn't like there were like millions to choose from.
Well, no, actually, back then, I made Best Buy. Like I made their stock quote for like years because every Tuesday I was there. New DVD release. New DVDs. Yep, new release Tuesday. Every Tuesday I was there. I'm like, all right, what's new? I'm buying these 4, and then I would head over to Blockbuster, and then I would rent like the other 4 new releases just to see if they were good or not.
Yeah, there was wild times, man. Wild times when you had to actually go to a store to get your viewing fix in, and you couldn't just, waste half the evening on net. Dude, what's the deal? I got to do a Seinfeld here, right? What's the deal with Netflix? I turn Netflix on and I scroll through it for 4.5 hours before I decide to not watch Netflix, right? But when you walked into Blockbuster in like 98, 99, 2000, or Hollywood Video, if you had a Hollywood Video, you weren't in there for 4 hours. Like, dude, you probably walked around by yourself for like 5 minutes or something like that, maybe 10. And if it was a good video store and had like a great horror section that had like a lot of like imported stuff, like the Italian stuff, like some off-label crap that like you knew you couldn't get at Blockbuster, you could spend some time in a good video store. That was like popping into a comic store. You talked to the weirdos running the place. They knew about some shit. You had no idea what it was. You know what I mean?
And
but you weren't in there for 4 hours. It's just weird.
Well, one of the things, people talk about today is like gatekeeping. There's someone who gatekeeps you to do this and you do that. That's what streaming services really are. They tell you what's hot and what's not, and they control movies like the Sinbad movie where he plays a genie, helps out single dads. It exists. I tell you because I saw it in a video store.
I think that might be some Mandela effect there because I swear it doesn't.
It does exist. I remember seeing it because I made the joke because I thought Shaq and Sinbad did the same movie. But when Shaq was the genie, he did his.
Shaq was Sinbad. I'm just messing with you. It's like it's a temporal convergence point. I'm just like, he's like, no, it can't be. It can't be. It can't be that. But you know what? Like there was a certain. Well, let me ask you this, right? Was there not a certain joy to wandering through the aisles of like, what if you were into horror, whatever, action, whatever, if you were into like the rom-coms, like whatever, right? There was a certain joy in just looking at the box covers, and that's Blockbuster got that wrong. Hollywood, the other like indie video stores that had box covers that told the story. It was like being in a bookstore, you know? Oh, snap, that looks good. Because then you can judge a book by its cover in most cases at a video store.
It was also a conversation starter where people like, hey, have you seen this? Is it any good?
Sure.
And you would talk to complete strangers about movies for like 30 minutes before even going to the counter and checking out.
Saying, dude, it was legit like going to like a local comic store. Like if you and I didn't know each other, right? And I was rolling through and I saw you walking by and like you had a box of something that I hadn't seen. And if it was in my genre, I'd be like, dude, wait, I hadn't seen it. What's that all about? Or the reverse. Like if you were like just wandering around, you're like, hey, have you seen this one? I'd give you my opinion on it. Be like, oh no, dude, you don't want to see Critters 3. What you really want to see is Hellraiser's 11 or something. If you're, you know what I mean? And people would have that chat like a comic book store scenario where like you'd walk up and you'd be talking to some other dude, you know, could Thor beat up the Hulk? And you guys would be getting into it. It would be just like Clerks. And then I'd walk along and be like, well, let me solve that for you. Neither one of them could beat each other's ass. Superman and whoop them both. And then the three of us would have that conversation for like 30 minutes, like you said. You know, that's what video stores used to be like. But that was the Matrix. So we just fell into the Matrix talking about the Matrix.
That's right.
Which was wild. You know, that happens though. So dude, why don't we let's give the people what they came for. Let's happy birthday to the Matrix, 25 years old today. I can't believe it's been 25 years. And you pull up that first graphic and we'll just get my shame out of the way that I actually took, 10 seconds out of my day. Yay! Happy birthday, Gio. Fantastic. I even had the little balloons of Q2. You see I tied it off to the exclamation point and it looked pretty good. But
so one of the phrases I want to catchphrase is a watershed movie. A movie that changes the way we perceive movies and the way movies are made. And if The Matrix isn't the perfect example of a watershed movie, I don't know what is. So much new trit photography and practical effects mixed with CGI effects in this. Now, the CGI is a little dated. It was 1999 and everyone was still on Pentium 1s.
If they were on that. If they were on Pentium 1s.
So it is one of those movies that changed the way, and it is also one of the most parodied. It has two of the most parodied scenes ever: the Trinity jump and the go around and the bullet dodge.
Yeah, I just did the bullet dodge. I was gonna hit you with the jump kick, dude. Watershed moment movie, whichever, is exactly how I was gonna start this. Had you not said that first, because you and I the other day were talking about doing the horror by generation and how the kind of like the key gimmick or concept of horror has changed decade by decade.
Mm-hmm.
We had OG slashers. They went away. Scream reinvigorated. Great. But then we started getting things like Saw, or we started getting things like Paranormal Activity. And now we have the Conjureverse. So we've moved through these very different kinds of scary movies over the years. Dude, The Matrix is exactly that for like the action movie genre. It blended the sci-fi techno thriller elements into action, coming off a decade where most of the action movies we were getting really were the roided up Stallone, Van Damme, Schwarzenegger, like those kind of big beefy action movies where it's just some straightforward, there's an average Joe with a bunch of guns who has to get his daughter back or needs to avenge the killing of his wife because he's an on the loose cop that plays by no rules. But it's like we had that in like the 80s and 90s, but The Matrix did something wild, man. I was like, whoa, computers are new. Nobody knows what computers are in the mid 90s, late 90s, right? The internet was a new thing.
It was
nobody had any idea.
They were more business than they were in everyday life. Yeah,
right.
You saw them at like the universities, in labs, and like office buildings. You didn't have them. Very few people had home computers back then.
Dude, when The Matrix came out in theater, in what you said was 98, and then it came out home release 99 on DVD and VHS, right? In 98, 90% of the planet was still on dial-up internet. That's why we have that sound in the movie. When they jack in and jack out at the end, you get the old dial-up modem. What was the first modem? Like 1400 KBS or whatever it was? Like the fax machine sound, right? Mom, you kicked me off of Doom 2. I was playing Zach. I got to cut that now, I guess. Oops. Yeah. So anyhow, let's just roll right by that. I owe you one. So that was the technology. That was the limitation of the times we were at. And like you said, when movies innovate the special effects, They go down in legend and they become parody. Dude, I mean, you got movies like Scary Movie 2. We're taking shots at the 360 rotating crane kick. It was in
Shrek
cartoons
was.
for days. Dude, Shrek did. Dude, that's what I'm saying. And the bullet time dive, like that's been, or the bullet time dodge has been parodied 97 which ways to Sunday. You know, so you've achieved legendary status when you get there.
Even Trish Stratus made that part of her move set in WWE.
The dodge?
Yeah, where she
I'll
would
have to
she
go look
would
that
she
up.
would
She's
fall
gorgeous.
back,
I'll just
and then
say
she
that.
would catch herself but she would lay back like that as part of the bullet dodge
Nice.
type thing, trying to parry it.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
there's
perfect.
in the CGI of it. There's one movie that marks the beginning of the CGI era, and of course that's Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah, hands down.
They did something that's never been done before with Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park started that, and what I believe the Matrix did is took it to the next level with animating and generating human-ish like animations instead of just adding creatures into a live action film. Better than Disney did with like movies that they don't talk about anymore, like Zippity Doo Dah and stuff.
Yeah, we'll get
So-
undemonetized before we get remonetized. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm not saying the name of that movie.
Which
But
is
yeah,
a shame.
it-
It's a good movie. Anyway,
And the thing was that it was the launching board that led into CGI heavy series like Lord of the Rings and the Spider-Man.
Yep. Oh, dude. And those come hot on the heels of the Matrix in 98, 99. I mean, do you think the original Spider-Man came out the summer of 9/11? That would have been 01. If I'm not mistaken. And
They were talking
Lord
about
of the
doing a
Rings trilogy,
reshoot because it had the Twin Towers in
the
it.
tower scene at the end. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I think, wrapped up 03. So yeah, that's right on the heels. So it was definitely, like you said, it was a watershed moment in the effects. Dude, did the Matrix invent bullet time? Had that digital effect been rendered before? Like the actual pass, like the bullet itself, not the slow-mo, but that rippling bullet from the barrel effect. Because that made its way into video games shortly thereafter with things like Max Payne, things like Dead to Rights.
I believe they had it in the first version of it of doing something like that was actually Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, where they had an oversized arrow and they put a camera on it and then you followed the arrow, but it was actually someone like pushing an oversized arrow that made it look like a small arrow flying.
Oh, all right. Okay. And
it was
and
a
I know
practical effect.
Because a lot of people say that Equilibrium with Christian Bale had bullet time. I'm like, no, it had the gun kata, but I don't think it had slow-mo bullet play and stuff like that.
Well, it inspired Equilibrium, like the whole creation, the design, the look, like all.
I thought Equilibrium was first.
I'm not sure on that.
There was Dark City in like the early 90s for like that goth look with like the black trench coats and things like that. I think Equilibrium came out first, and then the Matrix popularized the gun fu, the trench coat look, the black sunglasses, that weird goth tech noir vibe. I'm pretty sure Equilibrium came out first, but it just didn't hit like the Matrix hit, which is too bad. I think Equilibrium is a pretty good movie.
Equilibrium and Inception both came out afterwards.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, because right here, one of my notes is that the Matrix spawned a wave of imagination. They saw influx of films trying to capture the psychological edge of stylish actions from Equilibrium to Inception. This is one of the notes I found.
Good find. I always thought it was first. But so maybe the Matrix did invent bullet time for all intents and purposes with that ripply bullet out of the gun, that the optical effect that they're showing you of the rippling bullet, and not necessarily just like they're trailing the shot, like when Kevin Costner fires the flaming arrow thing, or the giant arrow into the tree, like you said.
The other genre that it really heavily influenced is cyberpunk as well. Cyberpunk took a lot of good stuff out of the.
And then
Matrix
they hired him
as it grew. Yeah,
they put him in it.
Yeah, in the movie, in the video game. Yeah.
Yeah, Cyberpunk 2077. He's
but I'm talking about the whole cyberpunk type.
Yeah. No, I got you. Yeah, no, I got you. The Matrix, when it came out, right, instantly gets that rep as being like the high concept. It's a better than you action movie because it plays on its. Dude, I mean, to put it kindly, because I think it's been parodied to the point of ridiculousness now, but it piles on its philosophical concepts so heavily especially in the two primary sequels. I don't count Matrix Resurrection. That's a trash movie. I advise nobody go see that. I think the Matrix trilogy is a fun watch, but it gets dumber each installment you go because they really try to double and then triple down on the iconography, on the philosophical elements, on trying to layer double and triple meanings on everything, and not just having a cigar be a cigar down the stretch. But that first movie hits. Like when you're talking, like let's remind people what The Matrix was. It's a movie about a guy that's going through his crappy everyday life and gets presented with the opportunity to see what the world really is, and then realizes that the real world kind of sucks, and that the crap world he's living is the better version. Do you red pill or blue pill? Because the real world is post-apocalyptic dystopian future. The machines beat us underground. You know what I mean? And the world you thought was real is a computer simulation that gets pumped into your brain because you're actually plugged into a pod and the machines are using you as a fuel, as a battery. You're a fuel. Yeah. You're fuel.
And I mean, look at it. Yeah, look at how it plays into this. Just today's society with the rise of AI, the rise of social media, and how people are so plugged into their things that they're completely distracted to the truth around them. So the red pill even falls into it, where it's like always take the red pill because the blue pill will keep you in ignorance. And that's exactly what we're surrounded by. With the AI tell us the answer, even though we know what's right. We were talking about the Mandela effect just a second ago when we were talking about video stores, which I think is just a huge experiment on to see what can they make us believe that we know is true. It plays so much into today and like how influential this movie was over not only cinematic but culture itself.
Well, I agree 100%. I think that the social media space is filled with jokes all the time about like when we see AI making a breakthrough or robotics makes a breakthrough or something. Like there's always that comment. And I'm usually the guy writing it where it goes, "Do you want Skynet? Because this is how you get Skynet." You know, the Matrix had already answered that question, because if you remember the history of the movie, when Morpheus is breaking down to Neo what really happened, he's like, "We don't really know what year it is. We think it's 2000, but it's probably closer to 2100. You know, the machines beat the bag out of us and then recreated reality, which to the peak of human civilization was like the early 2000s, right? And that's it. Like from there, at some point, you guys birthed AI, and here we are. We're boned. We live underground. We eat gray sludge. Like this is it. Like the humanity's down to like 15,000 people in Zion, and that's all you got. You know, so like there's always that connection between we end up creating something that undoes us no matter what. You know, in the Cold War, everybody thought it was going to be the A-bomb. You know, and then we moved along and away from that, and then we moved into climate crisis stuff in the 70s, and that's always been around now. But now, modern, current day, present day, it's the AI thing. The Matrix already told me everything I needed. I mean, I already knew about AI because of Skynet. I'm good. The Terminator taught me everything I needed to know about AI. But these kids in the 90s needed a whole new version, apparently. They invented, well, actually, they don't even name the AI in the Matrix. It was always just AI became the machines.
Well, it was the overall hive mind of the machines. It wasn't created by man. It was created by the machines.
Right. That they had arrived at self-awareness on their own. Right. It wasn't like Skynet that we turned on.
Yeah, it was nothing like of our creation. They actually came from another world.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Was there another world play? Oh, then I forgot all about. If that was it, I forgot all about that. I thought they just became self-aware. I didn't think it started like a defense program like Skynet or Legion or anything like that.
No.
But the end result was the same. We were boned. We were boned. And I think one of the fun parts about the Matrix, right, is that unlike something like the Terminator, the Matrix gave you, as Johnny come along for the audience, it gave you that mechanism to get in and go on like the hero's journey and get that wish fulfillment, that power fantasy, right? Because Thomas Anderson is a schmuck, right? He's in a cubicle farm. He hates his job. Mr. Anderson. Dude, my name is Neo. Like super jump at the end of the movie is one of the best parts. You know, I love that part where right before the train. That was one of the fun parts of the movie. There's nothing fun about T2. Like that was a kick in the nuts, like start to finish. Like you're along for the ride, but it's like emotionally exhausting by the end. Everything's brutal. It kind of sucks. Like there's no fun part in that. Neo getting plugged in for the first time and being like, I know Kung Fu. And then, you know, doing that shit. That was wild.
I know kung fu.
You know? Or dude, he's like, he's eating it up. Give him more. And he's like, you see the monitor. It's just flickering through all like the katas and all the other different styles and forms and shit. You're like, dude, wouldn't that be dope if somebody, I need a helicopter pilot program. Click. You know, they did that in the movie too. Like, that's wild. Like, how awesome would that be if I could get a device like that from Elon that then couldn't be subverted by the government to make me a drone? You know, I'd sign up for that Neuralink in a minute. But I got no trust for like evil billionaires or the government, so I'm good. I'm just gonna leave my brain how it is for the rest of my life. But what did so we got a lot of archetypes in the Matrix, and let's do some story talk here, some storyteller talk. A lot of character archetypes in the Matrix. You get the unsuspecting hero in the call to action with Neo. You get the mentor from Morpheus. He believes in the one. Nobody else believes in that though. It's kind of he's on a crusade to get other people to believe. You get Trinity, who's the love interest / sidekick / semi-mentor, because she has to believe in him too and get him to come around to certain realities and things like that. What do you think of all, like, literally all the basic broad cut categories in this movie? Is it too cliched? Was it cliched back in 98? Or did they put such a unique spin on it that even though they are kind of cutouts, it all still worked?
No, it still worked because the idea itself was of course, retelling of a story. You know, the Chosen One is a story that's gone through time over and over again, from all the way back to the King Arthurian tales. So it's not a new story, as we've all discovered that there's no such thing as a new story anymore. But it's how you put your spin on it to keep the audience engaged. And back then they were more worried about engaging the audience than they were about anything else. And that's what this movie captured perfectly in 99. And it was at a perfect time because, you know, at the real world, there were Y2K was a huge scare coming up. So this whole machines thing really played into that fear as well, with how this movie, you know, machines and people away from the machines. So it's a very well constructed concept with the characters that you needed. You needed the one who doubted himself, who knew that there was more, follow the white rabbit, but he didn't know how to find it. And then he was led away. And then you have the mentor, then you have the oracle, you know, who tells the prophecy. Because they had the prophecy before you could go on a quest. We learned that from Percy Jackson. You had to go see the oracle.
Indeed.
So it was a perfect microcosm of telling a good story.
And I liked everything you just said about that, all those characters playing their role, because one of my favorite parts about any good hero's journey like that is the reluctance. It's the guy that's not sure he's qualified to go. But then he chooses to do the right thing. Not even when he initially chose to go with Trinity, but when Morpheus gets captured, and he's like, "Well, no, the Oracle told me I'm not the one, but we have to go get him. You guys need him. We need guns, lots of guns now." And then Dozer, a tanker, the younger brother, the one that lives, is like, "Dude, Neo, that's a military controlled building. Nobody's ever thought of doing anything like that." And then Neo, in that moment, is like, "That's why it's gonna work." Because no one's ever even thought about doing it. They're never going to see it coming. And then, of course, that transitions right into, like, probably as epic a third act as something going back to, like, Aliens or T2. That entire, dude, from the minute they storm that building and the guard opens up the bag and he's like, "Oh shit," and then the bomb goes off, it's pedal to the fucking metal from there. Like, it's just on. You know what I mean? Right into to the banger absolute ending scene where Agent Smith, badass as far as modern villains go. Dude, why am I blanking on Agent Smith's real name? I love him. He's in Lord of the Rings. Actor's name.
Sam.
Nope. Definitely not Sam. Oh, I wish we had a giant chat that we could fact check these things through. Why can't I think of the actor's name? He's great. Lord Elrond.
What
is your name?
Hugo Weaving, right? Beats the crap out of this dude to, like, with the rapid fire body punches. He just starts spitting up blood. Neo's body is, of course, back on the Nebuchadnezzar, spitting up blood. Morpheus and Trinity are watching him die. He flatlines everything else. And then, of course, Trinity drops her prophecy, which is, no, you can't be dead because the Oracle told me I'd fall in love with the one, and that's you, so you can't be dead. And then he rolls back in, and they do that great little bit of trick work with the camera
where when he fights Smith one-on-one, he starts slowing his blocks down as Agent Smith is speeding up, and then he's keeping up with the blocks and the parry one hand. They're like, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. But that's of course after he does the bullet stop. He's just like, no. And he just denies the Matrix. He sees the code, denies the Matrix, and they just pick one, looks at it, drops it, music crescendo. It had everything an action movie needed with heart. You know what I mean? To bang out an ending. So, I mean, they not only nailed their characters, they nailed the tone, they nailed style, like that green goth douche nozzle 90s sunglasses indoors at night with the all black and the zoot suit style trench coat. Like that's none of that age as well, if you want to be honest, in terms of like the look. But it's a time capsule, man. It transports you right back there. Tell me it doesn't. Tell me I'm crazy.
Oh, yeah. And the Matrix movie was more than just a film, too. It also questioned our reality in the 20th century going into the 21st century. It made us think about, are we just living in a everyday rat race where we don't see who's pulling the strings? Yep. And there was a really good other movie that came out before The Matrix. Do you remember what it's called?
They Live.
No.
Roddy Piper?
The 13th Floor.
I've never seen The 13th Floor.
The 13th Floor. It had.
I thought you were going to go with the Obey thing with Roddy Piper from like the 80s. I'll have to remember The 13th Floor and peep that. Who's the lead? Who's the main character?
I don't remember the lead. I remember watching the trailer and I remember seeing it, but it had a great line that I remembered it. And the secondary is actually, what'd you do to the world? He goes, I turned it off.
Oh, snap. Yeah, that's the Matrix stuff right there, dude. That's wild. Dude, but you're absolutely right, man. Like you were saying earlier, like look around present day. Like the Matrix came out at a time ahead of like a massive national disaster, world-changing event in 2001, obviously, right? But even at that time, our fiction was still kind of old school. It was very 1984, very Fahrenheit 451. We were still teaching kids to question authority. You don't have to violently rebel or anything like that, but ask questions. Ask, who does this benefit? Where does the money go? Fast forward to 2024. Dude, the fucking kids today seeing the Matrix root for the machines. You know, they're not. How many of these kids are questioning anything? You know, they're siding with the fascists. Like, that's wild to me. They're like, if they made the Matrix today, like Neo and the Underground would be the bad guys. Like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. But then again, that's why no one will remember any movie from present day. And we're talking about the Matrix 25 years later. Even if we're not high on the sequel. Dude, are you high on the sequels at all? You don't Reloaded in the third one?
I did not really like the number 2 and number 3. I did not mind the last one. I like Neil Patrick Harris in it as the bad guy.
Oh, dude, you're killing me. Dude, Resurrection was awful. NPH was okay. He was a good fake architect character, but that movie was terrible. Dude, Neo doesn't use any guns. Ever. His only move is the stop bullet move.
Because he also didn't know who he was after he was pulled in. He had to learn who he was again.
That's Neo TLJ. All was missing was the blue milk. That's exactly what that movie was, dude. Reloaded, the second one. It extended some of the mythos a bit, and I enjoyed parts of it. Like I enjoyed the part of Agent Smith replicating himself. Like he was a failed program. The machines tried to put him out of his misery because he failed in the first movie thing, but then he ended up copying himself. And he's like, there's more of me and me. And he's turning his opponents into more of him. Like the effects are definitely dated when Neo's fighting 10 million Smiths, but I like the story ideas there. Some of the action scenes are standout and Reloaded. The highway motorcycle chase was awesome. Trinity on a Ducati is everything I wanted out of that movie, and I got it. Like that, I was down for that. And Persephone, I can't remember the actress name, but was that Monica Bellucci as Persephone, the Merovingian, the club owner's wife? Sweet Jesus. Anyway. But yeah, and then the third one, I honestly don't remember anything that happened in the third one except that Neo got blinded and somehow survived a fatal wound in the real world or something. I don't know. That's what I mean. They peter off a little bit, but the first one, revolutionary for its time, man. Revolutionary for its time. So happy birthday, Matrix. If we're gonna jump, I realize we're cutting into our time here. We're already gone a half hour. But yeah, it's the Matrix, guys. We highly recommend you check out at least part 1. I would also recommend incidentally you guys checking out the Animatrix. They did an animated anthology. I think it came out around 2004-ish. It wasn't long after Matrix Revolution. Maybe it was even before Matrix Revolution. I don't recall. But I would check that out. There was a couple of good vignettes in there that I think you guys might enjoy. But all right, Kingsley, what do we got next? Let's move this show right along tonight.
So next, we're going to talk about which hero deserves his own solo movie. I picked one. I don't know if you picked one. So
I did, but I'm cheating when it's my. You want me to go first? You go first. I just talked a bunch about the Mitch. Are you sure? Because I'm cheating.
Yeah. You're cheating.
The rules are made up in the score. Well, what's your expression? The rules are made up and the score doesn't matter. So whatever it is. Is that
it's where the rules are made up and the points don't matter.
The points don't matter. Yeah, the points don't matter. I'm cheating. The superhero I'm picking to get a solo film already actually had one, but it was terrible, and it was like 25 years ago. I want Spawn to get another movie tomorrow. I don't care if it's Todd McFarlane. I don't care if it's. I don't care who it gets. Dude, there is so much. I was just in the comic shop today. I was picking up Ultimate Spider-Man 9 and Ninja Turtles. I'm on a Ninja Turtles kick lately. Expect me to call you and ask you how I could do a rewrite any day. It's coming. The books have been good though. But I was popping in there, and as I'm looking through just other rando stuff to pick up, the relaunch of some of the Image titles, they're doing a big relaunch now. They have other smaller titles that are coming through. I just picked up Violator #1. That was one of Spawn's like first villains from back in the day. But dude, there's like 3 or 4 different Spawn books. They got King Spawn, they got all kind of Hell Spawn, this Gunslinger Spawn. I'm like, dude, there's so much lore out there that's so wild and that kind of doesn't even run adjacent to like the Marvel and the DC stuff, where you can distill down a lot of the Marvel stuff and a lot of the DC stuff. Like Blue Beetle and Shazam are essentially the same movie at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like it starts with a very basic character idea, and obstacles put in front of them. They have some powers, they get a little goofy, and then they win. The Image stuff is darker in a lot of ways. Some of the titles are a little bit more violent. The supernatural elements that they bring to it with some of the Hellspawn powers and how heaven works in Image being they're not. It's almost like they're from the show Supernatural. Like they're not always on humanity's side. There's a strong dichotomy between heaven and hell, and humanity gets caught in the middle. So that there's a lot of that interesting iconography that goes on there. But I'd love to see Spawn get back to base. Dude, they do baller. Dude, McFarlane was out of his mind when he was drawing this back in like 92 when this came out, or 90 or whatever that was. But it's just so wildly 90s and over exaggerated. I mean, dude, look at his boots. Look at his gauntlets. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. The cape became a meme. Like the cape has been memed in one of his own books where like there's like it's Dog Spawn or like Fat Spawn or whatever it was wearing the cape, and then drawn 3D into the image like 10 panels out. It says cape ends here 2.5 miles, because like the cape is always just it didn't make any kind of sense. But like we're going to talk about our next segment with the horror movie. Like the Spawn stuff encompasses so many different genres where they can work in the action superhero stuff. They can work in the violent action movie stuff. They can even work in some of the horror stuff, because some of Spawn's villains are absolutely like blood-curdling, spine-chillingly evil. You know, like the first villain he defeats, I think in Spawn 1, is a child serial killer, and he messes that dude up. Like shit ain't even funny. So I mean, I get why they couldn't make a movie, because it would never hit for mass audiences. You know what I mean? It would have to be like a rated R situation. The effects budget would probably blow it out of proportion, but damn if I wouldn't want to see something like that, at least for starters. But what were you thinking? Maybe we can go back and forth with a couple, because that didn't take too long. I was hoping that segment went a little longer for me.
So mine is someone who's been reduced to a B character in most movies, but I do believe he should have his own movie, and that's Martian Manhunter.
Yes.
Martian Manhunter needs his own movie. He is he's a founding member of the Justice League. So he has a wide range of abilities of shape-shifting telepathy, yep. Intangibly. He has super strength. He has flight, and he has but beyond his power, the character offers a depth of perfection to stand alone in films. He doubles as a private detective on Earth. He's the last of his kind, and there's scenes where he's actually taken down Superman. Now, I believe water is his weakness.
Fire.
No, water makes him catch on fire.
Water makes him catch on fire?
I
thought he was just weak to fire.
So there was something that it was in a movie, animated movie where they had him, and Batman's Batcave was broken into, and they stole his file on how to defeat every member of the Justice League, and they put it into his drink, and he was caught on. It caught him on fire, and like he'd
Interesting. I always thought it was just straight up fire, but dude, great pick. Absolutely great pick. If you have more on the Manhunter, go on.
Yeah, his movie. I have notes, so if you, I wrote some stuff out while I was at home.
Dude, I went ham on the Matrix. Handle this.
So, with his mythology, the mythology of Mars and the destruction, the nature of Jean's power also rips from cinematic inspiration. The story could develop into Martian culture, a civil war that led to the planet's destruction, and emerge a powerful villain like, I am not going to try to say that name, but it's one of his main enemies. It has like 3 apostrophes in it, so
yep,
not going to try.
I don't know enough about him to name
but
his villains.
It's his brother. It's Martian Manhunter's
brother. Even better.
And he's responsible for the genocide of their people.
Dude,
so it has rich lore, provides ample material to build an emotional and an action-packed story. Martian Manhunter movie could explore universe's themes of identity of belonging and what it means to be a human through the eyes of an alien trying to make sense of a world that isn't his. A struggle between 2 worlds, much like Superman, would resonate with the audience on a deeper level. So that's why I believe Martian Manhunter deserves his own movie.
Dude, that's a solid pick, and I was always annoyed that it took the Justice League extended Snyder cut to even get a glimpse of the guy, because that was one of the tacked on things that they threw in. Dude, I always wonder why, after like 70 years of having this kind of media, like in print and comics, right? That these idiot studios, like these jackasses, get together and they reason themselves out of taking what I don't think are very big chances. Like I've heard it said that the reason they didn't include him in that Justice League, that starting 5, like why they didn't swap out or just add him in, really. Cyborg, who they didn't do anything with until again the
Justice
Snyder
League
cut.
movie.
Right. Like if he's a founding member, you don't have to explain everything about him. You just put the effing green guy on the team and you drop a couple of lines between him when he meets Batman and be like, my people destroyed themselves. I'm the only one left. And then when he's an alien, the fact that he can pick something up with his mind, like, bro, if you're here to see a superhero movie, you're not questioning that. Like, you didn't go to see like the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants and are wondering why this chick's lifting a car up with her mind. You're like, oh, the green guy's from Mars and they can lift shit with their mind. Okay, I've seen that done in 95 X-Men movies. Like, the fuck? Like, dude, let a Martian. You know what I mean? Like, let him do it. I don't see why. It seemed weird to me that they wouldn't take that kind of gamble and just put him in the ensemble movie. I'm not saying they should, like, James Gunn shouldn't try to go all, brand new DCU and launch with him. That seems kind of stupid,
Yeah, of course you got to launch with your money makers, and then you bring in characters like him. But he still deserves his own movie. I mean, Blue Beetle got a movie before he did.
Dude, if we interviewed the next 100 people in our respective cities on the street and asked them who Blue Beetle is, somebody would I'm guessing 90% of people would be like, I think it's a band. Although Martian Manhunter sounds like a band too. I mean, we have Alien Ant Farm. Like it's kind of close, but I think you're right. I think way more people would know who John Johns is. Even I know his name, like, for Christ's sakes, and I'm not a giant DC follower. Like, I can't remember the last DC book I picked up, but even I know who he is.
So to keep going down this path, I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. Instead of a hero, who is a villain that deserves their own movie?
Yeah, dude, I had a feeling you were gonna ask that. Right? That's gonna take me a second. Do you have one you could throw out there first while I'm kind of backburnering some things, or do you want to see me muck my way through this live in real time?
Let's see. I got mine, so I'll give you a second on this one.
Yeah. Right. You go. I'm gonna put on my cap.
We all know that Avengers Doom and Avengers Secret Wars is the end of the multiverse saga. That is going to mark the end with the back-to-back Avenger movies like they did with the end of the Infinity War saga. They're supposed to be moving in, and what a lot of people are speculating, they're going to move into the mutant saga. As we saw that the highest grossing Marvel movie in 5 years is Deadpool and Wolverine, 2 X-Men. So to start off the mutant saga, I would start with a villain and not Magneto. I would start with Mr. Sinister.
Interesting. Because that was always the guy when they teased Sinestro Corp at the end. Was that at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2? He was in the post-credit scene. I was like, all right, that's taking us in a direction we haven't seen from those guys. I'd be down for that.
Yeah,
I'd be down for that. That's not a bad pick at all.
He's a billionaire geneticist obsessed with the evolution of human mutations.
Yep,
Nathan
he's top
Essex, tier. And he begins to and then he becomes altered by Apocalypse. Apocalypse could be the overall Avengers threat or full X-Men threat, because the way they did him wrong in Age, just the way they did him in Age of Apocalypse is completely wrong. Even though I love that they had Archangel in it and they had Psylocke in it.
Dude, I was gonna say they had Archangel, who going back is a favorite of mine as a kid, especially after when they upgraded him from Angel into Archangel and they gave him the metal wings and the razor disc things that he throws.
Yeah,
Psylocke
now his origin was
they
completely different than what they did in the movie too, because he quit the X-Men and went to Mural Island to become normal again, and that was a breeding ground for Apocalypse, and he turned him into Archangel. And the way, because this has been Todd McFarlane before he quit and started Dark Horse Comics. He was
Image.
Image. I thought it was Dark Horse.
Image. No. Image. Yeah.
But before he left Marvel, he was the penciler and inker for the X-Men, and he's the one who designed the wing design for Archangel.
That makes sense. And now that you've said that, I can see in my head several characters where that kind of inspiration played out in some of the early Image stuff that he did with some of the other Spawn had a lot of secondary characters and tertiary characters that showed up, like Angela, like the Redeemer, and there's a lot of I could see that. I can now see that that inspiration there.
So that's a great point. I would start with Sinister and then build our way through to Apocalypse.
Dude, that's a solid pick, dude. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I can one up that. I mean, the problem is I work from like the galaxy ending threats down. So I'm thinking, like, do you start with Galactus? Do you do something with the Living Tribune? Like, you can't, like, those characters are bigger than movies. You know what I mean? There's a reason they don't show up a lot and do those kind of things. So like, I'm struggling because I feel like all the ones I would have picked, they didn't get solo films. They were already featured. Like, I've always been a fan of Green Goblin, but I mean, the guy's been done twice now, live action, and like 40 times in animated stuff, you know. That's a tough one.
The one they haven't touched on is Hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin could be an interesting take, especially since in the Holland Spider-Verse, like it's his friend that's slated kind of to fall into that role, like if he goes evil. But they're not even leaning that character in that direction though. So I don't know how that would work. And it might be kind of funny seeing him on the board. I don't know. If you had asked me this 10 years ago, I might have said Venom because I liked Venom a lot as a kid. That's another character that's gone through that. Actually, you know what? They're even kind of going that route, like you said, about building threat levels up. Because isn't the main villain in Last Dance, isn't it Null? Like, isn't the King in Black the main villain in that movie? So so they're executing on that. They got lucky that character arrived at some kind of prominence, because I don't think if they had done Venom in 2005, I don't think Null had been written yet. I don't even think that character's.
Yeah, they would have nowhere to go. They would have nowhere to go with Carnage.
Like, it would have been Carnage, right? Right. They'd be up the creek. That's tough. I'm trying to think, because I mean, Doom would have been yet another pick that I would have made, because he's classic.
He kind of has his though coming.
Yeah.
I got one more. I think you would
go.
Like.
Yeah, dude. Let me go. Keep. I'm thinking.
Because they've done him wrong the first time, and they somewhat got him right the second time, but once again wasn't the primary bad guy, and that's the Juggernaut. Sticking with my whole mutant saga, I think the real origin story of the Juggernaut, and then watching him go from a person who just wants to destroy into the team that he became with the Thunderbirds.
Yeah,
or Thunderbolts.
That could work. I mean, you got to admit though, like when we're talking about villains getting like their own movie, villains doing standalone are tough because they really need to be anti-heroes to give them a standalone. That way you can root for them along the way. Like it would be tough to get. I mean, you could do a Doom origin movie, but I mean, like, who's the bad guy in that movie? You know what I mean? Thanos thought he was doing some okay stuff by his people. I still don't want to see that movie. Doom's a dick. Like there's no undicking that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Well, actually, his whole origin story is about revenge as well. It follows this almost the same path as Magneto.
Yeah, I had to go back and refamiliarize
because
myself.
it was more about what they did to his mother, and then he started using black magic.
That's right. I was like, I was waiting. I was trying to remember how the sorcery came in, like because
his mother was considered a witch.
Green Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
Right. I forgot all about that. You know what I mean? That might be the way to go. I mean, I might cop out then and say Magneto because we were supposed to. Do you remember when Marvel was supposed? I think this is when it was still Fox. When there was supposed to be there was the trifecta of Origins movie. You were supposed to get Wolverine, right? We got that and it was terrible. But then we were supposed to get a Magneto origin film, right? I always wanted that Magneto origin film that showed how rotten the Nazis did him. And we got glimpses of that in the movie that Kevin Bacon was in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember which First Class movie that was, but it's like that was the one where Magneto pushes the coin through his skull.
I think that was the very first one. That was First Class.
It was First Class, dude. I love that movie. First Class is good, dude. One of my favorite scenes in superhero movies, and I play this every now and again, just when I need like that little psych boost, is when Charles basically says, like, dude, you have all you need. Like, I believe in you. And he moves the radar dish. I love that. That song swelling into that crescendo as he moves the disc and they laugh together. That's amazing stuff. Dude, and that's why everything after that, after the next couple, because I mean, Days of Future Past was okay. First Class, Days of Future Past. I'm missing one because then it got bad. Because then it did Age of Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, and it was just. Am I missing one or no?
No.
It was First Class and then Days, and that's it. Just those two, and then Age of Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. I feel like there was 5. Yeah, give me some research. Because I thought there were 3, and then the last 2 were garbage. And then I was like, no, it's time for this shit to be done. You know, I remember because
all right, X-Men movies.
Yeah, it was definitely Days of First Class is first.
First Class, then it was the Wolverine came out, then it was Days of Futures Past, and then it was Apocalypse, and then it was Dark Phoenix, and then there was then we had the New Mutants movie, which I still haven't watched.
Not even counting those. I thought there was another entry with the First Class kids in between First Class and Days of Future Past. I don't know why. I just must have randomly thought that. But yeah, dude, Magneto would have been my cliched pick. But again, like the stuff I collected most as a kid was mostly the Batman stuff and the Image stuff. I had some X-Men, some limited Spidey stuff. So the classic villains on either side, I know who they are, but only in juxtaposition to I know which heroes needed to beat them. So I defer to your knowledge on which villain would make for the most sense. But we're blazing through. So these conversational topics are much more fun than the news. You were right, but I want to give us proper time. So
this is our show. I know what we want to do.
Dude, I know, but we still got to let people know we're up on the current events. But so if we have to run 5 minutes over on this one, you guys are gonna have to deal because I think that this is a segment I've been looking forward to doing all week. King Z he threw the line out there and he kind of baited it out of me in a way. He's kind of talking some smack actually.
He
was. He was like, dude, we really want to talk about how Assassin's Creed Shadows has been formally delayed until February because it has news. Because I have to do you, but for one news, officially the Acolytes spent over $220 million. It wasn't the 180 that they had initially put out there, like their tax documents, as we told you were going to happen, were revealed from the UK. And it was over 230.
The other hot news that came out is that they're officially saying after the Mando Gordo movie, The Mandalorian is done.
Yes, I saw that. No season 4 for sure.
No season 4. They're ending that storyline.
And if we're going to stick with that bit of news real quick, you know how I've been on the kick lately of the Ray Palpatine movie writer. He's opening the Peaky Blinders studio.
Yes.
Right? Oh, great. Yeah. That story was out there a week ago.
It's approved
This
by the Peaky
week,
Blinders.
This week, there were stories out there talking about, the script needs more work. We're going to put in more time. There's still some angles that are up in the air. As of today,
it is officially on hold.
It is officially on hold. Dude, this movie is never happening, because now I'm seeing excerpts of an interview in Variety, I believe it was, with Daisy Ridley, that said, oh no, I don't have a contract. I agreed on the concept that they passed to me alone on what the movie would be. I haven't seen anything script related at all. So she just said, well, of course. I said, I look back and I had fun doing them. And of course, the bag of money, they had to bring it in a golf cart. So of course I said yes. Dude, this movie's not happening. We were 100% right. I'll say it. It was never going to go down that way. Any of their gaslighting about people really love this character, it's almost as embarrassing right now to tie it into Assassin's Creed and Concord. Like, the Emperor has no clothes, and this is the part of the book at the end where he realizes that he has no clothes.
Yeah,
like, these companies have to know now.
And just for my quick 2 cents on this, I believe if Skeleton Crew does not pull massive amounts of views, we have seen the end of Kathleen Kennedy, and she's going to bring everyone along with her. David Filoni, all of them are going to be gone. It's going to be Bob Iger's like, you're costing me money. I need to make money because that's what we're here for.
Because we haven't for so long, and we can't play with like mommy and daddy's shareholder checkbook anymore. Like it's just not a thing. Like the embarrassment, the secondhand embarrassment I felt for them when I see all of the channels that we like to talk about and reference, like Valiant Renegade, like Geeks and Gamers, like when they're running wall to wall stories about, here's the tax documents. It's not racism. It's bad marketing. It's bad execution. It's bad writing. We told you. We tried to tell you. We had nothing bad to say about Moses Ingram or Kelly Marie Tran or Dippy Doo from the Acolyte. What was her name again? Amanda Stenberg, right? Nobody doesn't like these people because of who they date or what they look like. They were just in shit projects. So my challenge, and I'm sure King Z is along board, my challenge to Disney would be, why don't you write a good story and then cast somebody that checks those boxes and then stop using these people as shields? Maybe just try that once. You've tried it your way for 10 years and you've gotten dunked on with a few exceptions every time out. It can't be our fault every time. We don't cut the checks for these effing movies. We don't. But I don't have to go see them. And I don't have to renew my Disney Plus sub for Acolyte Season 2. You're not getting it, but you know what I mean. But all right. We matrixed ourselves there. That's my fault. We got a topic here, guys. I was excited to talk to King Z about it. He baited it out of me. So I put a little bit of the onus on him, and he took the challenge. We know in the upcoming months, there are at least a couple, or in the next year, a couple of horror franchises that are coming back. We know next month, Salem's Lot has a show coming through. I think it's on Peacock, if I remember right.
Max.
Peacock? It's okay. That one's on Max. The Pennywise thing, Welcome to Derry, I think that's on Peacock, isn't it?
That's on Max.
They're all Max?
Yeah.
No, my bad. Oh, well, Max is on a hot streak because the Penguin was dope. And then you and I had mentioned the other day, or we had talked in the past, there is a Camp Crystal Lake show that's a prequel that's been held up in development hell, but it's still an A24 production. I think it's still being worked on. And of course, I just mentioned it the other day, there's an I Know What You Did Last Summer show revival coming through. I don't think it's a movie. I think it's another series. So I said, damn it, I'd like to see a Freddy show. And King Z said, I got you, bro. Let's talk. How would we get a Nightmare on Elm Street show off the ground? Now, to set this up, just like total disclosure, I'm pretty sure I'm a bigger fan of the franchise. I don't think this is necessarily something that you know inside or out. Like, we've talked horror movies before, and I think you've said that the sequels definitely really weren't like your cup of tea start to finish. So King Z is going to give us his take. So if he says something that doesn't jive with lore, that wasn't the point of the exercises. We're trying to rebuild the legend. All right. So I gave him no other parameters other than it needs to be on theme for Nightmare on Elm Street. So King Z, you go first, and I'll kind of break your thoughts down and give you some of mine.
So when this started, I sat there and I went to the lab, which is where I'm sitting right now, and I was thinking how I can make a series. And I didn't just come up with one season. I came up with 3 seasons because the
He's got
the
a
juice
series
stuff
Bible.
was. Yes, I got a pitch set.
Series Bible, bitches. Storyboards incoming.
So a Nightmare on Elm Street series reimaged. A reinvention of the Nightmare on Elm Street series is a format goal where we maintain the core elements of Freddy Krueger lore while expanding the mythology and adding depth, psychological horror, and modern relevance. This format will allow us to slow burn the exploration of Freddy, his origin, and the trauma he inflicts on his survivors. The power of the dream, all while taking the narrative in a fresh direction that feels relevant today. So my first season will be a limited series of 8 to 10 episodes. Haven't actually started writing. But
slow down. Whoa, dude. We don't have the license. The budget does not allow us to call New Line or whoever owns this shit and get the license. I can buy a couple of pieces of music from Pond 5 if you need it. I can send you a stream deck if you want one. Slow down on the license bullshit. All right, go. Do your thing.
All right. Episode 1, Into the Fire. The pilot induces a small, quiet town where a series of mysterious deaths occur while tied to severe sleep deprivation. Teenagers experience vivid, disturbing dreams involving a burned man they don't recognize. The opening episodes focus on a central teen character, someone new to the town, undiscovers the nightmare in the local urban legend. The tone is a slow burn horror with a mixture of psychological terror, emphasizing mood and tension, building up Freddy's appearance. This show will be reveal Freddy gradually through the nightmares. Mm-hmm. The new direction and the multi-generational trauma element of it. While the teens are the primary focus, the series will introduce the parents' generation and slowly unveil that they are Freddy's original victims. These parents have survived Freddy decades, suppressing the horror, and have been living in denial ever since. Freddy now returns to haunt both generations. At the core of the mystery revolves around why he's back and stronger than ever.
Dude, let me stop you right there. First of all, awesome, right? I love that you've got 2 generations at play here, because what that means is there's 3 generations working through the show. The grandparents, if you will, must have then been the people that originally torched his ass. And now they've somehow condemned 2 generations of kids. That first generation that survived, or the limited number of people that survived, because some of them had to die. You know what I mean? So there needs to be some casualties there. And then the grandkids that are in the modern era that have to use modern means to tackle the problem. Dude, I love it. And I love that you mentioned the sleep deprivation, because if I had to slap a parameter on this show, like I was saying it when I loaded us up here, if we're going to stay on brand, everything when it goes down needs to be dreamlike, surreal, elements of being afraid to fall asleep. You're almost obligated to work in a couple of scenes of, this dude pounding the coffee, this chick's swallowing out of a bottle of no-dose pills, somebody's leaning back in their desk chair and they give you the quick jump spasm wake up thing when they half fall asleep, and then they don't know if they're awake or not until their mom comes in and it looks all normal and the mom's got the glove on or some shit. You know what I mean? You have to work in stuff like that. But I also love, I want to just highlight that you mentioned that the main character isn't somebody that you've brought in from the movie. It's not Nancy. You know what I mean? It's not Kristen from later. You know what I mean? It's a new teen to town. So not only can you work in all of that stuff, which is exactly the binding stuff that's always missing in new shows, where you have to give me enough real world stuff to make me care about your main character. You're the new girl, the new guy in school, you're a junior or something like that. You got no friends. Maybe you're one of your parents is like an alcoholic or some kind of loser. So you get dunked on for that a little bit. You got to balance all that shit at high school, which most people in the first world readily acknowledge is the worst part of life, is fucking high school. Unless you're absolutely being beaten at home or something terrible. Like most teenagers don't like high school, right? So you've now opened the mechanism for that, where the new kid can then over time acquire a circle of friends, maybe by saving one of them, by being the first person to survive an incident in like recent history. And then that person knows how to, that kid saves the jock. Well, now him and the jock are friends. And then maybe, if you're circling through stereotypes, the next kid to get attacked is the cheerleader type, but she's not a brainless cheerleader. She's not a ditz. Maybe she is really smart, and you can play with those things and not make them cliched. Dude, so I'm digging how you started. Do you have more synopsis for the next few episodes? Did you actually write out 8 of them?
I have 3 pages of notes here.
Dude, I'm putting the pen down. Your show. Hit it. I'm not going to talk again until you're done. I'm good.
The new take on Freddy. Freddy is the spirit of fear. Freddy's power is still tied to the dreams, but the vision introduces the idea that Freddy feeds off a generation trauma and repressed fear. He doesn't just kill for revenge. He grows stronger because of how the fear and the guilt pass through the families. Freddy will still be charismatic and a terrifying killer, but takes more on the abstract presence at time. Less than the physical kills, but more the psychological trauma.
Liking it.
Because that was one of the
such
things
a more advanced version.
The end of the first one, she said, I take all my power away from you, which was her fear. And then I'm just playing more to that. Yep.
Dude, you know what? Real quick, dude, that's a brilliant take, because one of the ways in my head I was trying to set this segment up is I was trying to bullet point, what made the original Nightmare on Elm Street work. It was really only 2 things. It's the iconic creature design, because Razor Fingers is terrifying. Dude, I'm 44 years old and I carry. I'm still afraid of that. You know what I mean? Like, I'd unload, reload, mag dump again. And if this dude's still coming at me with Razor Fingers, I'm just going to accept my fate. You know what I mean? Like, so you have iconic creature design as one element. And then the other element, like you just hit on, and like we were just talking about, is the dream related stuff. Imagine if you can't sleep. You know what I'm saying? That shit's terrifying. So once you have those 2 things, what you really need is the motivation. Well, revenge killing is a thing, but it's a thing.
But once you kill it,
trauma, exactly. But generational trauma, guilt, shame, everything that goes along with that's a powerful psychic energy source. I'm sure that shows up in the Dresden Files reference. I'm sure that shows up in one of the courts of vampires somewhere. Fear. Oh yeah, I think there is one of those types within the white core that feeds on fear. But continue, please. You're breaking it down eloquently.
The dream logic. The show leans more into lucid dream sequences where the reality and the dream world start to blur. Every episode plays with the audience perception, making it difficult to tell whether the character is awake or trapped in Freddy's world.
Yes.
We also then dive into Freddy Origins, a deep dive. The series will go deeper into Freddy's past with flashbacks across multiple episodes, revealing more about his life because before he was burned alive. The show introduces elements of Freddy's disturbing psychology as a human, his fixation on children, how he learned to manipulate the dream world, and is dealing with the dream demon that granted his power, which we all remember from I forgot which one
Nightmare
it was,
6.
but
6.
Yep.
Freddy's dead.
Yeah,
that was the worst part of the
power.
series as it existed, as you describe it. If that had been part and parcel with throwbacks and references to part 1, and let them kind of develop that over time, and not just have them be evil sperm tadpoles at the end, literally in the last 10 minutes of the final movie until New Nightmare, that might have gone over better. But as it was just a cheap gimmick for the 3D. That was
one of the things I was going back for, since that was already in a movie, that's why I went with it. Yep. One of the other things was a ritual, kind of like Chucky, how he got put in the doll. So I was going with one or 2 of those sets. Now,
I got to be honest with you. I know that ritual, but out of respect for my co-host who believes that it will actually happen if I say the words, I won't say it.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, shit, dude. Agatha's on tonight, isn't it? I got to watch that shit after this.
But making Freddy more nuanced, both the victims and sometimes darker representation of the monster, the show can provide more emotional depth. And then this the season arc, Freddy's weakness. Part of the season arc revolves around the survivors, teens and parents alike, trying to figure out how to fight Freddy. Discover that defeating him isn't just about avoiding sleep, but facing your worst fears head on. Deep in the dig of Freddy's lore, and more than realizing the power is rooted in emotional trauma. The Elm Street curse. The show is revolved around Freddy's reign of terror and tied to a curse on the entire town. Freddy's manifestation of a dark secret and guilt carries into the residents, particularly the parents who hunted him down. There's a hint of supernatural forces that may also draw Freddy into the dream world, forces that could be explored in a later season. The season finale, the final episode, the survivors uncover an ancient ritual that might allow them to trap Freddy within the dream world permanently. The ritual involves confronting their own darkest nightmares and memories. In a climax episode that enacts the ritual inside a shared dream state that becomes a surreal battleground of their lives. The final hit of Freddy's trap, but they're not entirely defeated. He leaves a cryptic message for one of the survivors, implying that he will always be tied to the fears that people carry. Freddy's ability to evolve means that he can return under new circumstances in future seasons.
Dude, digging it. The only piece I'd add to that is, as long as it's not a magic MacGuffin dagger that anybody needs to kill him, because I'm kind of over that too. You know what I mean? I think everybody's done that. I'm loving that. Keep going.
For the new themes and modern fears, to keep the series relevant and fresh, it would address modern anxieties, cyberbullying, generational trauma, social pressure, and the isolation of social media. And within the framework of dream horror, Freddy could adapt those fears, tormenting characters based on their stressors of today's world, making him more terrifying and resonant to a modern audience.
Dude,
the sound design be heavy.
He put this together over 2 days, people. That's it.
The sound design will be heavy, emphasized on disturbing sound states, unsettling dreamlike noises, and eerie treats of Freddy's glove before he strikes. The dream sequence will be visually disturbing, surreal, and rapping, taking cues from directors like David Lynch and Christopher Nolan's Inception. Each nightmare will be personal to the victim, using their worst fears, personal traumas, and desire to create a twisted, horrific landscape.
Dude. Digging it.
I told you I went ham on this.
Yeah, you went ham on that. You went completely ham on that. It's like you actually put together an act. Dude, you've put more work into a podcast segment than I think most movies actually do when they storyboard their crap before they film. Because everything you said is at the very least, it's an outline of it's an effective outline of where to go. Like, it's well articulated and thought out. We'd have to hammer out a lot of details. Like, we need to develop a meaningful, resonating, memorable cast of characters, both with the teens, both with the adults. You need a good Freddy character. Like, if you're going to delve into the backstory of whichever union some piece of shit human made with a dream demon, spirit of fear, like, that guy needs to be compelling as fuck too. But you know what? I don't think I need him to be super sympathetic. In fact, I think I'm over sympathetic villains for a while. Like, I think I really just need some evil fucks to be in some TV shows so I can like it when the kids set them on fire. You know what I mean? And not be, oh, well, he was misunderstood. Like, that, dude. Like, don't give Freddy the Wicked treatment or the Maleficent treatment. You're like, no, you're still just a pedo piece of shit, and we're gonna burn you now. You know, like, that's all. Like, I don't need to. It doesn't matter to me why you did it. Like, we're still gonna wood chipper you now. You know, I think that would work. But I love the idea. Like, at the end, I think you said that the final battleground is a shared dream world. So in my head, it's whichever kids and adults are survivors by the end of that point, their own unique lucid dreaming powers have combined into one cohesive thing that they use a location to spring the trap. And I think that's kind of dope. You know, like, I'd love to see like a kid that's been estranged from a parent reunify and put their lucid dreams together, like as a family, to dominate. Like, that would be sick, dude. Like, I'm all over that angle. I love that kind of shit. Like, that reminds me of the end of Stranger Things season 2, where 11's closing the gap, but fucking Hopper's up there with the M4 and the shotgun just blowing away Demogorgons. Like, they're working together with their ability, the best of their ability kind of thing. I'm down for that.
So you could have like, I was thinking a teen girl whose dad's like, I'll always be there. Like, he's always at every game, everything like that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's not there. And then he comes back there at the end.
So, boom. Yep. Back. No, that would sell it. I think of some of the other interesting ways that you could play with this too. Like, your inclination is to think that everybody would be on the same side because they have the common enemy, but that's not how human beings work all the time. There can be people that, despite the evidence, ninth booster, masks don't work, that Freddy's not real. You know what I mean? And they could just outright interfere with, sabotage, obstruct somebody else's actual plan that we as the audience know would work. You know what I mean? There could be evil human characters involved that circumvent intentionally abilities to overcome this problem, depending on how down the cult kind of rabbit hole you would want to go.
Or maybe they might Freddy even has real world intentionally.
Order. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly right. Like, I think Halloween went down that road in the middle of some of their sequels where they did the Cult of the Thorn arc, where that's when they said, oh, Michael Myers was born under the symbol of the thorn. It's a druidic cult, yada, 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 yada. So it's actually people that wanted Michael Myers to be out there being evil and doing that kind of crap. I mean, you could incorporate all that kind of stuff here. I think the three things to hammer down, like I was saying, is you need to hammer down how Freddy comes to be, and you'd have to kind of sort that out into like he was just a piece of shit human, and then finally a group of parents roasted his ass, but he was able to come back. Like he needs to be doing the dream doing crap while he's alive, I think, to make it a little different than all the old stuff. And then some parents track him down, think they have him beat, but you can't beat him just by setting him on fire. Like there needs to be that more magical element later within the dream world kind of thing, like that you were hinting at. The design you'd have to nail down, and dude, that might even be the trickiest part, because I mean, a lot of people tell me they like the story to the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, but they did not like the Jackie Earle Haley depiction. Nobody dunked on him in the performance for the most part, from what I remember.
It was more of just his look.
It was just the look. It was compared to the not the later Nightmare sequels where it looked more rubbery than it did like burn victim, wet, kind of squishy, gross. He just looked like he was wearing leather on his face, and it had weird. It was just weird. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of like how if I was cutting the check, how do you pitch the creature design? Did you think about that at all?
No, I didn't draw up what the new Freddy would look like or anything like that.
Well, I mean, I don't expect you to sketch it, but I mean, like, how would you imagine it, you think?
I was just going with the concept of how to tell the story in a modern era that could capture new fans. That's what was the purpose of what I wrote out for.
Yeah, gotcha. I was just curious if you had any thoughts on that. And then the last thing I would ask would be, if we've suspended disbelief, and we talk about that all the time, so suspension of disbelief is unnecessary when you're in anything except historical period pieces. You need to have some. The meet cute for the rom-com, the gun that never needs reloading, the bullet wounds you can walk off, whatever, right? In this situation, in this world, do any of the human characters, outside of some of their ability to lucid dream in places, is there magic anywhere else of any kind? Are there other supernatural forces for good or for evil? But you mentioned that somebody might be pulling Freddy strings a bit, but is there a flip to that? Are there angelic beings or magic elsewhere? Did you think about any of those kind of concepts at all?
I did not.
I was just curious again. I wasn't expecting to. I was just curious.
Yep.
You just kept it kind of right within the box of Nightmare on Elm Street as kind of we know it.
Yeah.
Cool. Dude, I'm digging that. Dude, nicely effing done, dude. We might have to change some names to protect copyright and maybe just talk about this offline. I mean, they can't have the. I mean, they can, dude. Can they really have a monopoly on a killer that kills you in their dreams? Like, is that? Can nobody else use this as a gimmick now? Like, is that it?
There was a movie called Shocker, where he went through the electricity.
Dude, I love Shocker.
That actually they had to get that one cleared because of how close it could have gone to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. I love Mitch Pileggi in that as what was the bad guy's name? Was it Cletus something or other?
I don't remember.
I can hear the girl saying his name.
I just remember at the end they're running through the
TV
girl and stuff.
Yep, diving in. Yeah, dude, I had such a crush on the girlfriend in that movie, the football player's girlfriend that dies, except when she appears in the water. That fucking terrified me for years. If you've never seen that scene, he dives in at some point to recover like a locket that he had bought her, and he throws it in there after she dies. He goes in to get it and he can't find it. He surfaces at one point, and like dead chick is just floating there behind him, like up to the neck, like looking at him. I pee myself if we re-air now. I can pee myself live. It's that terrifying, but she was so gorgeous. Great movie. Shocker, everybody, go check that out. It's got Skinner from X-Files as the serial killer. If you needed a visual reference there, but it's a cult classic, I would say. But dude, great job on that guy. Please cut that segment out and let's get that launched separately for folks that may be interested in checking that out, because that's how we do on this channel. We put thought into some things, and this is why when we dunk on Agatha or Acolyte, it's because we actually in the hour that we had to think about that topic, King Z gave you that, and these dickweeds couldn't give you anything more complicated, thought out, articulated, more creative, more inspired. And and they had 240 million to work with. King Z's got whatever I can Venmo him today. You know what I mean? I think that's it. But dude, I appreciate you coming through with that. So that gets us off the hook for that other segment that we weren't really prepared for. All nicely done.
Yeah, we've gone long tonight. We do apologize, but we do appreciate y'all coming along with us.
I had a blast. It's probably my favorite show so far, dude. Nicely done, guy. All right, I'm gonna bounce. I'm Winter Wolf. He's King Z. King Z always handles the flowery goodbyes. Why don't you do your thing?
All right. Well, see ya.